Hey everyone, I'm gonna give a quick preface that I don't have the best broadcasting voice today as I am getting over the flu, so bear with me, but we are going to dive in. So, my topic is trademark and brand confusion in entertainment and media industries. And I chose this topic because branding has become one of the most important parts of building a public identity, especially in music, media, and digital content creation. Artists, influencers, companies, and public figures rely heavily on names, logos, slogans, and visual identity to build recognition and trust with their audiences. Trademark law exists to legally protect those identities and prevent consumer confusion in the marketplace. In entertainment specifically, branding is often directly tied to someone's career, reputation, merchandise, and financial success. If another company or creator uses something too similar, audiences may mistakenly believe two brands are connected or affiliated. And as someone who's personally pursuing music professionally, this topic interested me because artist branding has become just as important as the creative work itself. A stage name, logo, or merch design is not just artistic expression anymore. It's also intellectual property and part of a business. So, what is a trademark? A trademark is any word, phrase, symbol, design, or identifier used to distinguish a brand or source from others. In simple terms, trademarks help audiences recognize who's behind a product, service, or creative work. Trademark law protects branding and identity. According to our notes, trademarks are used to identify and distinguish goods or services and help consumers make purchasing decisions. Trademarks can include names, logos, slogans, colors, sounds, and even certain designs associated with the brand. In entertainment industries, trademarks are everywhere. Artist names, record label logos, tour merchandise, podcast name, influencer branding, and streaming brands all rely on trademark protection. Think about how quickly people recognize logos like Nike or artist branding connected to Taylor Swift. That recognition has real financial value. One of the most important concepts in trademark law is consumer confusion. Courts are not just asking whether two things are technically identical, instead, they ask whether consumers are likely to be whether consumers are likely to mistakenly believe two brands are connected, sponsored, or affiliated with one another. So, why does this matter? Trademark law matters because branding has become essential in entertainment and media industries. Audiences often connect emotionally with artists and creators through branding before they even experience the actual content itself. For example, people recognize artists through their names, logos, aesthetic, merchandise, and online identity. That branding helps build trust and recognition. If another creator or company use something too similar, it can confuse audiences and potentially damage reputations or profits. Trademark disputes are especially common now because digital media has made branding more competitive than ever. Social media usernames, podcast titles, merchandise drops, influencer collaboration, and online businesses all depend heavily on recognizable branding. This topic also highlights how entertainment law balances creativity and business. Creative branding is important, but trademark law creates legal boundaries that help protect consumers and creators from unfair competition or misleading branding practices. One important trademark case is AMF Incorporated versus Sleekcraft Boats, and that came from 1979. This case became foundational because it established what is known as the likelihood of confusion test. The issue in this case involved two different boat companies with similar branding. The court needed to determine whether consumers would likely confuse these brands or assume they were connected. The courts developed several factors to analyze the trademark infringement. These included the similarity between the marks, the intent of the companies, the overlap in their audiences or markets, and evidence of actual consumer confusion. This case was extremely important because it created a structured framework courts could use when evaluating trademark disputes. Instead of simply asking whether two names look alike, courts began considering the broader context of how consumers interact with brands in a real marketplace. Even today, courts continue using versions of these factors when deciding trademark infringement cases. Another major trademark case is Polaroid Corporation versus Polaroid Electronics. This case introduced what are now called the Polaroid factors, which are another important framework courts use to analyze trademark infringement and consumer confusion. The case involved two companies with similar names operating in related industries. The court recognized that trademark disputes are not always straightforward and that many different elements can influence whether audiences become confused. Some of the factors considered included the strength of the trademark, the similarity between the marks, the likelihood that companies would compete in the same market, and the sophistication of consumers. What makes this case significant is that it reinforced the idea that trademark law is heavily focused on audience perception. Trademark law is not only about protecting companies, it is also about protecting consumers from being misled about who they are buying from or supporting. A more modern example of trademark law in entertainment is the legal dispute between pop artist Katy Perry and Australian fashion designer Katy Perry. This case involved trademark rights related to clothing and merchandise using the name Katy Perry. Even though the designer's real name was Katy Perry, courts still had to determine whether consumers might confuse the clothing brand with the famous singer. This example demonstrates how trademark law can apply even to personal names. It also shows how important branding has become in entertainment industries where artists expand beyond music into merchandise, fashion, sponsorships, and business ventures. This case also highlights how trademark disputes are becoming more global because brands now operate internationally through social media, online shopping, and digital marketing. One of the most important parts of trademark law is prevention. A lot of legal disputes can be avoided if creators and businesses take time to approach sorry, if creators and businesses take time to properly research and protect their branding before launching publicly. First, creators should build distinctive and original branding. Stronger and more unique trademarks are easier to protect legally and less likely to create confusion with existing brands. Second, it's extremely important to research trademarks before launching a name, logo, or business. This can help avoid lawsuits, forced rebranding, or financial losses later on. Third, creators should consistently use their trademarks in commerce before trademark rights are connected to actual use. On the other hand, creators should avoid copying brands that look or sound too similar to existing companies or artists. Even small similarities can create legal problems if audiences are likely to be confused. Finally, one important thing that I learned is that personal names are not automatically protected from trademark disputes. If a personal name functions as a commercial brand, it can still be a part of a legal conflict, as we saw with the Katy Perrys. This topic very much influenced the way that I think about branding as an artist. Before this course, I mostly saw branding as a creative decision, something connected to aesthetics, visuals, or marketing. But I now understand that branding also functions as a valuable intellectual property with real legal and financial significance. Trademark law protects more than just logos or business names. It protects reputation, recognition, audience trust, and the identity creators spend years building. I also recognize how important it is for artists and media professionals to understand the legal side of their careers. In entertainment industries, creativity and business are deeply connected. A strong brand can become one of the creator's most valuable assets, but only if it's properly protected. As the digital media and influencer culture continues growing, trademark disputes will likely become even more common. And that makes understanding trademark law increasingly important for anyone pursuing a career in entertainment, media, or content creation. Thanks for watching.